Hi all, welcome back. So this is going to be a comprehensive course regarding Selenium, Java, Maven, Cucumber setup and test with WebDriver Manager and Allure reporting. So we'll be using BDD framework and in the end we'll be able to generate a beautiful report. So the programming language that we'll be using is Java. The automation test tool we'll be using is Selenium. The automation test framework that we'll be using is a BDD Cucumber. We'll be using a driver manager. We do not require to install specific drivers. The WebDriver Manager itself will take care the latest driver which syncs up with the web browser. We'll be using Maven as a build tool for Java, Allure reporting, and we'll be using IntelliJ as an integrated development environment. So we'll be doing this comprehensive step-by-step approach. The first step that we'll be doing is we will be installing IntelliJ in the local machine. The second step that we'll be doing is we'll be verifying Java in local machine, and if required, we'll be installing it and setting up system variable and environment variable. The third step that we'll be doing is verify Maven in local machine and if required install it. Step number 4 we'll be doing is create a Maven project and Cucumber plugin. Step number 5 will install dependencies related to Cucumber, that is Cucumber Java, Cucumber JUnit, Cucumber Core, and make sure the versions are correct. Step number 6 is we'll be doing is Selenium WebDriver dependency. We'll be using the latest version, which is version number 4. We'll be setting up WebDriver Manager for our POM.xml. This will make sure our Chrome driver version is consistent with our Chrome version as such. In step number 8, we'll be adding folder structure in the project. Step number 9, we'll be looking at the introduction to BDD framework. Step number 10, we'll be having a look at the application under test and the tests that we have to code as well as design. Step number 11, we'll be looking at page object model concept. We'll be adding the pages based on the page object model concept, that is reusability, scalability, and maintainability framework. We'll be looking at step number 12, adding pages to the project. Step number 13 will be adding step definitions. Step number 14 will be invoking WebDriver Manager. Step number 15 is where we will start designing and coding our first test, which will involve the test boxes as well as web elements. Step number 16 will be design and coding second test, which will involve reusability of step definition and pages as such. Step number 17 will be designing and coding third test, which will be involving web table web element. This requires specific web element locators, and during all this process we'll be looking at using best practices as well as how to identify the elements in the DOM through the better element locator approach. And step number 18 will be last. We will be looking at configuring the Allure report in the BDD framework. Allure reporting is a beautiful reporting as such. So stay tuned and let's look at the step number 1. So for installation of Intellij IDE in the local machine, what you need to do is you need to click on Google and then look for an Intellij Community Edition. You can search this in your browser and then you can click on the download Intellij, the leading Java and Kotlin IDE. Once you click on the link, the first link that you will be able to see is Intellij IDEA Ultimate, but you do not require to have Ultimate version. What you need to have is the Community Edition, which is free for you, and you can select as download based on your requirement, whether you need a .zip file or .exe file. But .exe file is a better option. You can click on download and this will get automatically downloaded in your default downloads folder. Now once this has got downloaded, what you can do is you can go to your downloads folder and just double click on this .exe file. And once you double click on the .exe file in your downloads folder, you will be able to see something like this, which is Intellij IDEA Community Edition Setup. You can click on next, and what it will do is it will select a C drive, which is a default folder in your machine, and it will try to get installed over there. So this is the path. You have to make a note of this path, which is C drive. program files, JetBrains, Intellij IDEA Community Edition. Okay, so the version which I have in my machine currently is 2022.3.2. You can select whatever is related to your specific version. It could be 2023 as well, but it will same as what I have in my machine. So I'll just click on next, and then it will give a destination folder where exactly do you require to install it. Click on next, 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 and you will be able to get a successful message that the installation has really happened in your machine. Now, once the installation has happened in your machine, you have got a successful message. You can go into your search bar in your machine and then just search here as IntelliJ, and you will be able to see that the moment you type IntelliJ in your search button, you'll be able to see that something like this is getting opened up, which is Intellij IDEA Community Edition 2022. So you can double click or single click on this particular window, and something like this will open up, which is welcome to IDEA, and you can click on create a new project to start with, which will be starting soon, or you can customize and look at the plugins or click on learn just to learn about IntelliJ. But what I would suggest is we have to create a new project. Okay, so this was my intention, that you at least install IntelliJ IDEA, and something like this window should open up so that you understand, okay, IntelliJ is really set up. Before creating the new project, we have to make sure that our Java and Maven is really set up correctly in our local machine. So those couple of steps we will be doing soon in the next section. So we are done with step number 1, which is installation of IntelliJ IDEA in local machine. Now the second step that we'll really require to do is a prerequisite, which is step number 2, verify Java in local machine, and if required we have to install it, and then setting up the system and the environment variable. Now let's get that done. For verifying whether the Java is really present in a local machine, what we need to do is we need to search a command prompt in our machine. So I'll just click on this search button over here, and I'll just type over here as command prompt. I'll just single click on this, and something which like this will open up, which is a command prompt. Now it will by default go to a path which is C users and then your user, which is specifically in your machine. Now I'll enter a simple command which is Java hyphen hyphen version in this particular machine, and press enter on my keyboard. Now what I have got here is Java 11.0.19. What it means is Java is really set up in this machine. Now it may happen that you might not have Java in your machine, which might show that it's not able to understand the command of Java. If that is the case, that you have to install Java in your machine and set up the system variables. Okay, I'll explain that step as well. Now what we need to do is we need to search in a browser as Java and download, and press enter on our keyboard, and you will be able to see that there are a couple of links over here. One is Oracle link and another is directly a Java link. You can go on either of the locations and get Java installed in your machine. Okay, it really doesn't matter. Recently or previously, what had happened is Java was acquired by Oracle. That's the reason there are a couple of links over here. Now I'll just click on Oracle link, which is Java downloads, and the moment I do that, you can see that this particular page opens up, which is specific related to Java downloads. Now the Java latest version currently available in the market is Java 21 and Java 17. Okay. Now these might be the stable versions of Java. But what I have done is I have selected something which is JDK 11. Now I just scroll a little bit down, and you can see that Java 8 version is also available and Java 11 version is also available. Now it depends on you what you really need to select. Now I have selected Java 11 for the purpose of stability. Java 11 is quite stable, and I'll just click on this Java 11 tab, and then there is an option of Java 11.0.20. Now depends on your OS, which is operating system, whether which operating system do you have in your local machine, and then you can get it installed in your local machine. Now I have Windows currently, which I'm using in this particular video. I'll just go to Windows tab, and then there is a 64 installer. Now I'll just click on this downloads, and the moment I do that, you can understand that this gets downloaded in the default downloads folder in my machine. Okay, so make sure that where exactly is your default downloads folder. Generally it is under C drive into your local machine where it really gets downloaded. Now you can double click it or you can single click it so that it gets downloaded in your local machine as such. Now, once you have downloaded your particular .exe file, you can double click on that particular .exe file and you will be able to see that some window will get appeared and you can get it installed specifically in your machine. Just proceed with particular steps of installation of Java, and then you'll be able to make sure that you understand where exactly the Java has got installed. Now by default, I'll just explain where exactly Java gets installed, and I'll show in my machine as well. I'll go to C drive and then I'll go to program files and I'll go to Java folder, and over here I can see that there is a JDK-11 folder that has got created. Okay, now once it has got created, you can just verify what all folders you have. So you have a bin folder, you have a conf folder, you have a lib folder. Okay, now I had already got this done as soon as my Java got installed and I clicked on that .exe file and my installation got completed. Now the reason I am requesting you guys to verify that which particular path is for you in your machine, it is important that we set up the environment variable in particular machine. Okay, now this is the path exactly which is C drive, program files, Java, JDK -11 bin. Now this exact path has to be entered in our system variables, which we'll be doing right now. So what I'll do is I'll search environment variables, and the moment I search environment in this particular section, you'll be able to see that there is an edit system variables control panel. Okay, now I'll just click on it and something like this will open up. As you can see, there is a system properties, and I'll click on environment variables, and the moment I click on environment variables, this particular window opens up. Now this particular window is important for us so that our Java really gets recognized by our Windows file as such. Now Java is a product of Oracle, and which used to be earlier within Sun microsystem. Now Windows is a operating system which is different from Sun microsystems or Oracle as such. That's the reason we have to set up this environment variable and system variables so that our machine recognizes Java particularly. Okay, now the important area where the environment variable and the system variable has to set up is, you can see that there is a path over here. Now you need to double click on it and you have to provide the exact path. So you can see over here we had our Java got installed at C drive, program files, Java JDK. Okay, so exactly the path I have given over here, you can see that C program files, Java JDK -11. Okay, I have not given bin over here, but I have just given JDK -11. Now this is the environment variable I have set it up, and I'll just close it and I'll go to the system variables. Now over system variables, I have set up a Java underscore home. Okay, now I'll just click on this, and as you can see, I have set up a variable name which is Java underscore home, and C drive program files Java JDK -11. Now we have to give the path where exactly is our bin folder. Okay, that exact path has to be given. Now I have given in the system variable, and I have provided the path under this, which is environment variable as well. And now I am set up with my Java paths. Okay, so system variable is also done, environment variable is also done. Please note that if you are running Java first time in your machine, this will not have been set up, and That's the reason I'm giving this instruction to the people who are trying this in their machine, that you have to set up both this system variable as well as environment variable, and then come back and run this command of java hyphen hyphen version. Once you have set up this, you have to come back to command prompt and run this particular command, which is java hyphen hyphen version. And the moment you do that, you can see that you are getting a response back as some kind of version that you have already set up. Okay, so my PC contains java 11.0.19. That's the reason it is showing over here as java 11.01.19. Now you might have installed java 11.0.20, that will get appeared over. Okay, so this is important in order to proceed for setting up our project as such. All right, now our step number 2 is also done, which was a prerequisite. Now what we have to do is a prerequisite verify Maven whether it's really present in our local machine or not. If it is not present, what we have to do is we have to install it. Okay, and then the setting of the system and the environment variable. Now this is very similar to our step number 2, but it is little different as well. That's why I had to set it up that this is a prerequisite before we proceed. Now what we have to do is similar to what we did in the step number 2. We will go to command prompt. So I'll just search command prompt here, and something like this will open up as a command prompt. Now I have to enter a command over here, which is mvn and hyphen version. Okay, and press enter on my keyboard. Now the moment I press enter on my keyboard, there are some details coming out. Okay, so you can see that there is an Apache version, Apache Maven already present, which is 3.9.1, and there is a Maven home setup. Okay, now it's trying to take some details from this particular area, wherein it's taking it from C drive, users, AU, downloads, Apache Maven 3.9.1 bin, and then Apache Maven 3.9.1 version, and it's giving a Java version as well. So it has already linked, the Maven itself has linked with Java. So we have done some settings of Maven as well in our system and environment variable after the download. That's the reason it is showing okay, the Maven is already present. But if it is not present and if it's showing that it's not able to recognize it's a mvn command, what we have to do is we have to install mvn. Okay, now there is nothing specifically called as installation of mvn. What we really do is we generally download mvn in a particular location and then set up the system and environment variables. Now let's do that. I'll just minimize this command prompt, and then I'll just go to my browser, and I'll just type here as Maven download, and the moment I press that, you can see that there is a link over here which is Apache Maven. Okay, now Maven is an Apache product, and I'll just click on download Apache Maven, and you'll be able to come on this particular page which is Apache. Now you have to specifically download a particular version of Apache. Now there are different links given over here, which is Apache Maven 3.9.1 hyphen bin. Now you can go for .zip file or you can go for .tr.gz as well. Now what I have done is I have clicked on this particular double clicked on this particular link, and it has gone downloaded in a particular version or a particular link where default link of the download as such. Okay, now it is important to understand where exactly this has got downloaded. Now if I search over here in my downloads folder, that is the Apache, you can see that there is a versions of different versions of Apache that I have specifically got downloaded, and this has been present in my downloads folder. Okay, that's the reason you could see that this particular, when I had run mvn hyphen version, it was picking up from particular Apache Maven, that is downloads folder. Now once you have got downloaded this particular file, you need to zip it, or you have to unzip these files, and you have to try to retrieve the location, exact location of the Apache Maven. And once you have understood where exactly is your Apache Maven, you have to search for environment again, which we had done in this our step number 2. That is, we try to search the edit system variables, that is environment variables, and this particular window opens up. System properties. Now in this system properties, there is a folder, there is a button which is environment variables. I'll just click on that and you'll be able to see that there are environment variables and the system variables. Okay. Now for the environment variables, we have to set up a path. I'll just double click on this path and you can see that I have specified a particular path over here, which is percentage maven underscore home percentage backslash bin. Okay, you need to specify this particular path exactly as it is appearing over here, otherwise you will not be able to map the maven into your local machine. Okay, similar to what we had done in our step number 2, setting up Java as well. Now this is the path. Once you have specified the this particular path in the environment variable, you need to specify the system variable. Okay, so system variable, what I have done is, if I go to system variable Maven home, okay, I have created this particular system variable specifically. So I just clicked on new and I created a variable name that is Maven underscore home and provided the variable value. Now, what I did is I provided the Maven underscore home as a variable name and I provided the path exactly where the Apache Maven is present. Okay, now you can see that this is the downloads folder which where exactly it had got downloaded. So I'm not installing Maven anywhere. Okay, similar uh, in the step number 2, we had what we had done is we had specifically installed Java, but here we are not installing Maven. We are only mapping a Maven to a particular system variable. Okay, so once you have set up the Maven underscore home and you have provided the path, as you can see that the Maven underscore home variable is exactly similar to what we had specified in the environment variable as well. So if I go to path, I had already specified Maven underscore as a bin. So that is the mapping that I'm doing in my environment variable and the system variable. Okay. Once you have set up this, what you need to do is you need to go back to your command prompt and run your mvn-version. And what you will be able to get is Apache Maven 3.9.1. That means your Maven is also set up in your machine. So we are done with our step number 2 as well, step number 3 as well, which is verify Maven and then setting up the system environment. So we installed IntelliJ and then we have set up Java as well in our machine. We have set up Maven also in our machine. Now let's proceed with step number 4. Alright, so once we have installed IntelliJ in our machine and we have made sure that Java as well as Maven is also installed in our machine, what we can do is we can go to our search in our machine and then we can just search as IntelliJ. And once we have opened up IntelliJ, it will look something like this, like welcome to Intellij IDEA. And then because I have created different projects altogether, I'm able to see projects over here. But what you can do is if you don't have a project, you can click on new project. And what will happen is this whole new project will get opened up. Okay. Now this whole new project is our Cucumber related project, which we are going to set up totally new from scratch. And it is important that we provide the name of our new project. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll just type here as Selenium Cucumber and then WebDriver Manager as my project name. Okay, so by default, it is selecting a location in my PC. That is, it has already created a folder called idea projects over here, and it will be the local location where exactly this project will get hosted. Okay, so make sure that this particular selection is done. If you are not happy with this location, what you can do is you can kind of select on this folder and then you can specify where exactly do you really want this particular project to get saved. Okay, after that you can select language over here as Java and the build system as Maven. And the first time that you are trying to install your IntelliJ, your IntelliJ might not auto detect the JDK. Okay, so JDK is a Java development kit, and it is important that your Java development kit is really mapped to your IntelliJ. Okay, so if you are not able to see a Java version over here, what you can do is you can click on this drop down and then you can click on this particular button, which is add JDK, which is add Java development kit. So once you select this folder, you'll be able to select where exactly is your Java present in your machine. Okay, so because you had installed Java in your machine, what you can do is you can select as program files and then try to look at the folder which is Java, which might already been created in your machine, and then you can click on that Java folder, and under that folder you will be able to see that there is a JDK, which is Java development kit present in your machine. Okay, so it is important that you select this JDK and click on OK, and once you click on OK, you will be able to see that it is giving a 11 version over here, or whatever version you have in your machine, that will get selected over here and it gets kind of mapped. Okay, now what we have to do is we will click on create. Once you click create, what will happen is your whole project will get created. So this is a brand new project that we have got created, which is Selenium Cucumber WebDriver Manager. Okay, so this project contains a POM file. So you might be able to see a POM file, which is a project object model. That's the whole meaning of it. Now you can add different dependencies now, because we are going to create a framework which involves Selenium as well as Cucumber. It is important that we understand what all dependencies we require to add, so that our project is as whole is particularly mapped to these particular dependencies. Okay, so we will get this done first, but having said that, we need to add a plugin. Okay, so we need to add a Cucumber plugin, and in order to understand, before we add any dependencies of Cucumber uh, over here in the pom.xml, you need to understand whether Cucumber plugin is really present in our project or not. Now for that, what you can do is you will be able to see a file button over here. You can click on it, and then you can click on settings, and once settings opens up, what you can do is you can click on this particular plugin. Okay, now once you click on this plugin in this settings, you'll be able to see different plugins which is present in our marketplace. And what I'll do is I'll just search here as Cucumber as a word over here, and you can see that different Cucumber plugins are present. Okay, so there are different plugins which are Cucumber for Scala, Cucumber for Java, Cucumber Plus, and then Cucumber for Groovy, Kotlin. All those are present. But what's important for us for this project is that we add a couple of plugins over here, which is Cucumber Plus as well as Cucumber for Java. Okay, so I have already done that. If you have not done it, what you can do is you will be able to see something like this, which is install. Okay, so you can click on install, and once you have installed, what you can do is you'll be able to see a checkbox already checked for you in the settings. If you are not able to see this, what I will suggest you to do is you can close this whole project. After you have installed, close this whole project and reopen the project altogether, or reopen IntelliJ, and just check whether this particular checkbox are really present for you or not. Okay, so it is important step. If you don't have Cucumber plugin into your IntelliJ, you will not be able to proceed with setting up Cucumber specific projects in your IntelliJ. Okay, and just a disclaimer is this activity has to be done only once for your IntelliJ. Okay, once this is done for your IntelliJ setup, you need not do it for other projects in the future. This is just one time activity. Okay, so make sure this checkbox are present, and after you have made sure that these two checkbox are present, what we can do is we can close the settings modal as such, and then you can add dependencies. Okay, so let's do that next. All right, so the next step is that we have to add the dependencies related to Cucumber. Okay, now Cucumber dependencies have to be added, and these dependencies are Maven dependencies. Okay, because we are going ahead with Maven as our project management tool. That's the reason we are going for Maven repository. Okay, so now for that, what we have to do is we have to search in Google, and over here we can type as Maven repository in our Google search, and the first thing that you able to see over here is a Maven repository. Okay, so you can click on the first link, which is Maven repository. So Maven repository contains a lot of repositories as such, which are consisting of different dependencies, and the dependency that we are interested in currently is Cucumber. So I'll just type here as Cucumber Java. Okay, I'll just type over here, and the first thing that you are able to see is Cucumber JVM Java. Now, JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine, okay, which is the particular dependency that we have to add. Now, I just click on Cucumber JVM Java, and the first thing that you'll be able to see over here once you click on the Cucumber JVM Java is that there are different versions of Cucumber JVM Java. Okay, now you can see the latest ones are with the 7 point versions like 7.1 15x versions, and that has got updated with different dates altogether. Now in the interest of stability, what I will do is I'll select something in the versions of 6.1. Okay, now some of my viewers ask, hey, why did you go for this particular version? Now there is no specific reason that I have gone ahead with selecting a 6.11 version. We can go ahead and select with a particular version of 7 as well. It really matters what you are really going to test. Now in the future, right, I am going to explain what I am going to test as part of the application under test, and I am pretty happy with 6.11 version. But if you are looking for versions above 7, okay, some of the application doesn't work with versions of lower versions, but the application that I am working on, it is going to be it is going to be stable for 6.11 version as well. So I'll just go ahead and select a 6.11 version, and then go and select this dependency. So I'll just go here and select this dependency, copy it, and come back to my project object model. Okay, now this is a POM file. Over here, by default, there won't be any tags of dependencies. Please mind that it is very important. Now, some of the viewers, right, they try to tend to search, hey, where are my tags of dependencies? So by default, there won't be any tags of dependencies in your project object model, but we will have to add that. So I'm just adding that. The first tag which appears over here is dependencies. Okay, so I've added that tag, and then I'm adding the Cucumber Java dependency over here, as you can see. Now, the moment I have pasted the Cucumber Java dependency, you can see that there is a M signal coming over here, or a sign coming here, which tries to give you an indication that you have to load your Java Maven changes. Okay, we will load Java Maven changes, but before that, what I wanted to specifically say, there are a couple more dependencies that we have to add, which is Cucumber JUnit as well as Cucumber core. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my Maven repository, and I'll search as Cucumber core, and then press enter on my keyboard, and then you can see that there is a Cucumber JVM core. Okay, so I'll just click on it, and I'll select the version that I had specifically selected. This is very important for the viewers to understand that the versions of Cucumber core has to match with Cucumber Java, the earlier dependency that we had added. Okay, so Cucumber Java, we had selected specifically this version 6.11.1. Now I'll go back and select the Cucumber core. Okay, so this is a Cucumber core. I'll just select this particular dependency, in fact copy it, come back to my project object model, and then type or paste the Cucumber core as well. Now, the reason I'm saying that you have to have a matching dependency or matching version, that is 6.11.1, the one which we have selected, is you might encounter errors in while running these files of Cucumber. Okay, if you're running through a feature file or through runner file, you would find some mismatches if we don't select a particular version. So it is very important that you match which version that you have specifically in your dependencies. Okay, so once you have added Cucumber Java as well as Cucumber core, the another dependency that we have to add is Cucumber JUnit. Okay, so I'll select search here as Cucumber JUnit, and then press enter on my keyboard. You'll be able to see that there are JUnit, Jupyter API, all that is coming, but what we are interested is Cucumber JVM, okay, Java Virtual Machine JUnit 4. So I'll just select here, and then come here down below and then select 6.11 version. Okay, so I'll just copy this and come back to my IntelliJ and then press enter or paste the dependency over here, which is Cucumber JUnit. Okay, now this is good enough. We have added 3 Cucumber related dependencies, and now what I will do is I'll just load the Maven changes. So I'll just click over here as load Maven changes, and the moment I do that, there will be some indexing happening in this project. Okay, so indexing, as well as there will be some pre-built shared indexes that will be happening in this particular project. Now it depends on how heavy is your project. Now we don't have any test as such, or we don't have any feature files as such in our machine, so it was pretty much quick that it did the dependency loading, and we are good to go, at least from a perspective that our Cucumber dependencies that we wanted have been added in our project. So let's proceed in the next video to add the Selenium dependency. All right, so now that we have installed or added the dependencies specifically to Cucumber, now in this particular video what we will do is we will add the Selenium dependency as such. Okay, so similar to what we did in the Cucumber adding dependency, we had selected Cucumber in our Maven repository. Okay, now over here we will search as Selenium Java and then press enter on our keyboard. Now the first thing that you find over here is Selenium Java. Okay, so this is what we want specifically, and then we'll click on it. And you can see the latest Selenium versions are of the version 4, and there are different versions altogether, which is down below as such, which had been started from Selenium 1 or 2. In fact, you can see back in 2011 it had been started, and different versions Selenium has undergone. Okay, so more and more stability has happened on Selenium versions as such, and Selenium 4 is the latest one currently in the market. And most of my viewers were asking, hey, can you come up with Selenium 4 version specifically in your project, because that's the latest version, and you can try to avoid some set property dependency and all that, which is I agree with them, most of them, that yeah, Selenium 4 is the latest version, and that's what I'll proceed using in my project as well. So I'll not go with a 4.18, which is a kind of latest version currently in the market, but I'll go for something which is stable. Okay, so which is 4.17.0. Okay, so I'll just click on that and then copy this particular dependency, come back to my project, and then add this dependency on my project. Okay, now the moment I pasted, as you can still notice again, an M over here has come, which is prompting me to load the Maven changes. I'll just click on it and make sure my index is happening. Okay, so that indexing, once it's complete, it has made sure our Selenium also has got added in our project. So that is done, which was a small step that we had to add Selenium in our project. Now we are good to go. We are ready to proceed with adding WebDriver Manager, and I will explain why we are really requiring WebDriver Manager in our project. So let's do that next. Alright, now in this particular video, what I'll try to explain is something about the Selenium WebDriver Manager. Okay, now Selenium is an automation tool which has been using WebDriver concept. Okay, so this is specific to Selenium because we are using a driver in our machine. Okay, so I'll just explain how it really works is I've opened up a Google Chrome in my machine. Okay, now this Google Chrome version, if I go on the version to understand, if I click on this help of this Google Chrome, and if I click on this version of Google Chrome that I'm using in my machine, you can see that it is up to date. Okay, now there is a version of 121.0.6167.189. Now, what really happens as a tendency in our machines is this particular versions of Google Chrome will get auto upgraded. Okay. Now, with the auto upgradation of Google Chrome, what happens is this version will keep on changing. Okay, it will go to 122, for example, it will go to 123, for example, and it is very difficult for us to maintain a driver associated with it. Okay, so you can imagine that there are different Google Chrome drivers which are present in the market. Okay, Google comes with Google Chrome drivers. Now if you go and search in a Google Chrome drivers as such, what you will be ending up to know is that there is a section of WebDriver for Chrome downloads. So if you click on this and if you look at this versions, okay, so currently you can see that the Chrome version is 115 or newer. So it means that every time the Chrome gets upgraded or Google comes with a new versions of Google Chrome, even the Chrome driver needs to upgraded. Okay, and if you happen to select this Chrome driver, manually install it in your project every time, and then you try to run it in your Selenium project as such, it is a very difficult process to maintain your Chrome driver along with your Google Chrome. Okay, so you can imagine you have installed Google Chrome, which is currently having a version of 121 in your machine, and then if you go to this particular link, which provides the latest version of Google Chrome driver as such, which is maybe it could be 121. Okay, tomorrow if it gets upgraded, that is a Google Chrome gets upgraded to 125, then you have to find again the Chrome driver version of 125 and make sure your project is synced up with that. Okay, so this you can imagine is a big headache, and it's a big manual intervention of an automation tester. But having said that, there is a way to make sure your Google Chrome as well as Google Chrome driver is in sync, at least from the version perspective, and you need not manually install your Google Chrome driver in your project altogether. Okay, so previously 6 months back, I had uploaded a version of project in YouTube as such, and what I had specifically done is I had downloaded this Google Chrome driver in that project and I was using it. But many of my viewers mentioned that you can go ahead with WebDriver Manager, which I agree with them. This is a better method. Of course, it's best method wherein you are able to use Google Chrome WebDriver Manager, which makes sure that you do not have to install specifically the Chrome driver in your project. You can get away with using a WebDriver Manager. Okay. Now the the whole story that I have told you about this is managed by a WebDriver Manager, and I'll just show you is about this particular Google Chrome. So if you go here and search as a WebDriver Manager, so there is a person called Bonnie Garcia who has come with this particular version. Okay, so if you click on the WebDriver Manager, this explains the whole concept, how it is maintained by a WebDriver manager. You need not specifically give install this particular versions of Google Chrome. Okay, so if I go back and select this particular dependency, which is this dependency, and if I add it in my project, if I go back in my project and add this dependency and load my Maven changes. Okay, so if I click on this load Maven changes, you can see that it's downloading the dependency and my WebDriver manager has got added. Okay, so this is as simple as that. I am not going to install any WebDriver in my project. It will auto calculate what is the version of my Google Chrome in this machine, and based on that it will make sure the WebDriver is synced up with this. Okay, so it hopefully it makes sense why we generally go for WebDriver Manager, and it is the latest one, latest trend as well, to use WebDriver management so that you are not manually installing the driver specific. And in the future video we will we will be able to see how we are not setting up any system property as such, local path as such. It will, when we have to launch the browser itself, it will auto calculate your driver, and then it will proceed with your test. All right. Now in this particular video, what we'll do is we'll create some folder structure in our project. And for the folder structure, what we'll be doing is I'll just come to this particular project which we have, which is Selenium Cucumber WebDriver Manager. And inside this, there is a source folder. Okay. Now within the source folder, there are a couple of folders over here, which is main as well as test. And under the test, you will be able to see that there is a folder called as Java. Okay. Now our Selenium tests are actually supposed to be designed under test, which is this particular folder as such. But having said that, it is better to structure it in a proper designed fashion so that we will be able to make our project more readable to anybody who really looks into our project as such. Okay. So under the Java folder, what we will do is we'll start creating folders. So what I will do, I'll right click and select as new and then select as package, and a new package is being prompted over here. So what I'll do is I'll add features. Okay, so because we are designing BDD framework, which is behavior driven framework as such, that's why we will have to store features, which is features folder as such. The next folder that we will create is, if I right click on new and then select as package, I'll create as pages. So we will design this as per our page object model concept, which is a particular design concept of test automation. And apart from this, I'll create one more folder. So I'll just right click, select as new and then select as package, and over here I'll enter is a runner. Okay, so we'll create a runner file as well, which will run our scripts sequential fashion. One more folder that we will create is, I'll right click and select as new and then click on package, and this time we will create this as step definition. So I'll enter step definition and then press enter on my keyboard. That creates one more folder, which is step definition. And apart from that, I'll just right click and create one more folder, which is package, and then I'll add this as utility folder. So all in all, we have got 5 folders which will structure properly in our framework as such. So first is features, then is pages, then is runner, then is step definition, and then is utility folder as such. All right, so once we start designing or write our scripts, what is important factor is to understand what all these folders important as such. And one on one, I'll just explain what are these features, pages, runner, step definition, and utility folder as such when we design our scripts as such. So let's proceed. All right, now I just wanted to give a quick introduction to what's a BDD framework. Now, BDD framework, that is behavior driven development approach, allows the testers and the business analysts to create test cases in simple test language, generally English. And behavior driven development is a agile software development methodology in which an application is documented and designed around the behaviors a user expects to experience when interacting with it. BDD also offers the ability to enlarge the pool of input and feedback to include business stakeholders and end users who may have little software development knowledge. Due to this expanded feedback loop, development teams may more readily use BDD in continuous integration and continuous delivery environments. Now, there is a given when then formula. It's a template intended to guide the writing of acceptance tests for a user story. Given some context, when some action is carried out, then a particular set of observable consequences should obtain. Now, tools such as Cucumber encourage using of this template, though it can also be purely as heuristic, irrespective of any tool. All right, now that we have created the folders in our project altogether, which is features, pages, runner, step definition, and utility. And apart from that, we have understood what is a BDD framework and how the BDD framework is supposed to be designed in a given when then format. We have to add some feature files in this folder, which is features. Okay, so we had created a folder called a features, but we need to add those features over here. Okay, now before starting the features altogether, we need to understand what we are automating, what is our application under test, and what are the features which have to be added in this folder. Okay, so for a demonstration purpose, what we have done is we have uploaded application under test, and this application under test is a live demo application which is Ace Online Shoe Portal. It's a dummy or a demo project altogether, or a web application as such, just for practice purposes. And as you can see, this is the home page of the application under test, which once it has been launched, you will be able to see that this particular is a landing page, okay, which is the home page altogether, and you have to make a note of this particular URL which is given over here. Okay, now once you hit this particular URL, you will be able to see this is the home page. But once the user clicks on this particular hamburger menu, so there is a hamburger menu on this home page, and if you click on this hamburger menu, this particular left widget opens up. Okay, now this left widget has different links altogether, and the links that we have as part of our test criteria is couple of links. One is sign in portal and another is our online products. Okay, so if you click on sign in portal, what really happens is you land on this particular sign in page. Okay, now this sign in page consists of different web elements which are username text as well as password text. Okay, now these are couple of test boxes over here, and there are a couple of buttons over here. And what happens is if the user is able to type something as in username and password and click on login, you'll be able to see that the user has logged in into this particular product category page. Okay, now there are three categories over here. One is the formal shoes, second is the sports, and third is the sneakers. Now this is what happens if the user clicks on the login button as such. Now if the user is new, what the user might be able to do is user might be able to click on new user question mark register here. Okay, now this button if clicked, the user will be able to land on user registration page. And as you can see, there are different text fields over here, as well as there is a drop down over here which is Mr. Salutation and Mr. Mrs. and Miss Salutation, and then on the bottom there is a submit button altogether. Okay, so our web application under test is this one. So we have three tests that we will try to automate in this particular whole video. What the user will be able to also do is they will be able to click on the hamburger menu, and once the hamburger menu opens up, they will be able to click on the online products. Okay, once they appear on the online products, as you can see, there are three categories over here, which is formal shoes, sport shoes, and sneakers. Okay, now if the user is clicking on this drop down button which is right under formal shoes, you can see that there is a web table which the user is shown, and the web table has different shoe names, shoe color, available size, and all those kind of details. So we will add one more test that the user is able to navigate to this particular product category page or online products page, and they are able to view this particular shoe name, which is the first shoe name, which is Classic Cheltenham. Okay, this is a kind of a brand shoe which is available in ASL online products as such. So we'll put this validation as well. All right. So just to reiterate, there are three tests that we require to conduct. One is the user is clicking on the hamburger menu, and once they click on hamburger menu, they are clicking on the sign in portal. And once they click on the sign in portal, they enter the username and password, and they click on login page. These three categories or product category page is coming, at least from a perspective that the user is able to navigate. This is the first test. The second test that the user does is they click on hamburger menu, they click on sign in portal, they click on this particular button which is new user register here, and they are able to see all these values. And once they are able to see all these text fields. That's the second test. Apart from that, the third test is that the user is able to click on the hamburger menu and click on online products. Once they click on online products, there is formal shoes, sport shoes, sneakers, and they once they click on the drop down right below the formal shoes, you can see that there is a Classic Cheltenham as the first shoe name that appears. So these are the three test cases that we have to automate in our Selenium automation BDD framework as such. All right. Now that we have understood what all tests we have to automate in our application and how our application looks like, it is important that we structure these test cases into features, okay, in given when then format, which we already had a look. So let's create some features under this particular folder, which is features. Okay, so what we do is we right click and then select as new, and we don't have specific feature file type as such, but what you can do is you can create a feature file by clicking on this file. Okay, now once you click on this file, it will ask for new file altogether, and then what I can do is I can type here as login.feature and then press enter on my machine. Now as soon as I press enter on my machine, you might have noticed one thing, that logged in.feature.created, and there is a symbol of a cucumber. Okay, so what it means is it defined this file is a cucumber file, and that's how it gets identified. And after that, what we can do is we can write the given when then format over here. So before we write a given when then format, what we need to do is we need to provide the feature name as such. So I'll just type here as feature, and I'll just provide here details about what this feature does. So what I'll do is logged in user view. This is a feature name, and after this I can write scenario, and the moment I type scenario, you can see that there is an intelligence with IntelliJ is giving me, and then I can type here validate user is able to view after login. So this is a scenario, and then I'll provide the given when statements. All right, now I'll provide the details like what's the user. I'll provide the given statement. All right, so our given statement is user navigates to the login page, and when statement, when user successfully enters the login details, when user, and then statement, user should be able to view the product category page. All right, now this is the logged in feature. Now we'll create one more feature, which is our second test. So I'll just right click or hover on top of new and then click on file. I'll type it here as new user registration dot feature, press enter. All right, so I have pasted here the feature file, okay, which is new user registration view, and validate new user is able to view after clicking on new registration. And I'll just pass on the third feature. I'll just right click, hover on top of new, and then file as click on file, and then so this is a general user view. So what will happen is that without login or new registration, two, we can validate this. All right, so I have added three feature files here. So the first one is the logged in dot feature. Okay, so the first test case we were looking at is validate the user is able to view after login. Okay, user navigates to the login page, user is successfully enters the login details, and then user should be able to view the product category page. Now the second one is a new user registration dot feature, which is validate new user is able to view after clicking on the new registration, and we have a given when then statement. Now if you notice one thing, right, this particular statement of given is exactly equal to the this particular given statement. So we are kind of doing a reusability over here. Some of the statements will be reusable, and that's the idea about this framework as well. That's how we should be designing it. And the third test case is a general view user view. Okay, now the general we use user view is that validate general user. So we are not logging in. Without the logging in, we are navigating to the online products page and then clicking on the formal shoes drop down, and user is able to view the products. Now we will refine this third test case, don't worry. uh, our test was supposed to be that the first shoes that we viewing is should be the classic Cheltenham formal shoes. Okay, it's a brand classic Cheltenham. We are supposed to have it as a validation in our test case. But when we will write the test case, we will make sure that we are catering to that as well. Okay, so that's the whole idea. We have created the feature files, and in the next thing, what we will be doing is we will create the pages. Okay, so the next thing which we will create is the pages and step definition as well. So pages has to be created in a format of the page object model concept, and that is the framework that we have to design page object model, which is a most widely used test automation framework, and it is good in reusability, maintainability, and scalability as well from our automation perspective. So let's do that. All right, now I wanted to touch base of concept related to page object model as well. Now, before we start creating pages, I just wanted to give a quick understanding about that. Now, page object model is an approach to script maintenance, and it is to create separate class file which would find elements, fill them, or verify them. This class can be reused in all the scripts using that element. In future, if there are changes to the web elements, we need to make changes in just one class file and not 10 different scripts. This approach is called as page object model, which is POM. A POM which is little different from Maven POM as such. This is page object and that is project object, totally different terminologies. But this page object model concept, this helps in code, making code more readable, maintainable, and reusable in the future as such. I'll give a classic example. Now, before starting with page object model, you have to understand how many pages am my team needs to automate for our application under test. Now, better to plan it early if you already know. And the example is the example which we were looking at, which is Ace Online Shoe Portal. Now, there is a home page, and the home page consists of hamburger menu as well as sign in portal. Now the sign-in page is little different. Now sign-in page contains username, password, login button, new register as such. And the registration page consists of different objects which are salutation, given name, last name, contact number, email address, username, password, submit. Now, how do we really define is homepage make let's make homepage as a different class, sign-in page as a different class, registration page as a different class. Okay, three different pages, three different classes. Now how we will treat is home page will have hamburger menu and sign in portal, couple of objects over there, and we will make this treat this as objects. Okay, now sign in page has four different objects wherein username, password, login button, new register, we will make this as objects. And registration page has different parameters, okay, different objects as such. So we will treat these as a different objects of different classes, and this will definitely help us during reusability. Homepage, because we made this as hamburger menu as and sign in portal as different objects, we will perform click on hamburger menu. Okay, so that's the operation that we are performing on that object. Sign in portal, we are going to perform a click on that as a operation on the sign in portal. In the sign in page, because it's a different class altogether, username we will use as a send keys. Okay, something which we are entering into a text box, we will perform a send keys operation. Password again a send keys because that's going to be a text box. Login button will be a click because we have it's a button, that's why we have to click on that. New register will perform a click on that. So this is what is concept of the page object model which we will be implementing in our project as such. All right, now that we have understood what's a page object model and what our tests are, now it is important that we segregate different pages of what we have to design in our test automation framework. So I am on the home page. Okay, so this is an home page. Now we will create a home page as a class, and then we'll click on sign in portal. So this particular sign in portal page is kind of a login page, right? And we will design this as a login page. And apart from that, there is a new user registration page, right? So this particular page we will define as a third page. And the fourth page that we are interested is the online products page. Okay, so this page particularly we will have to separate it out as a different class altogether. So in this process, what I will do is I'll create four class files. Okay, and those four class files will be added in this particular page. So let's do that one by one. So I'll just right click on the page, and then I will select as a Java class, and I'll name this as a home page, and the other pages as well. So I'll create a class. Now this will be login page. The third one will be registration page, and the fourth one will be online products page. All right, so these are the four pages that we have inserted or we have created. Now we will design them one by one based on what all elements or web elements are there on this page. Okay. Now, in order to capture the elements on this particular web page, what is important for us to understand is what is the element properties. Okay, so web element properties. Like for example, you are on a home page. Okay, now this is how the home page looks like, and the first action that you have to perform is you have to click on this hamburger menu. Now you will not be able to click on this hamburger menu if you don't know what is the element properties of this particular hamburger menu. Now there is a very easy method to find out what is the web element of this particular hamburger menu, and this is a very easy method that we can really find out through and if you're using Google Chrome, what you can do is you can click on this three dots over here, and then you can navigate to more tools. Okay, and after you navigate to more tools, you can go to developer tools. Now there is a shortcut as well which is provided by Google Chrome, which is Control Shift I. Now I'm just giving a disclaimer over here. Now in this particular example, we are using Google Chrome as our browser, as a standard browser. But having said that, if you have Firefox, there is another way to identify very similar to this one, or you can use some other easier methods to automate different browsers. Like for Safari browser, you can identify in a similar fashion. Okay, but I'm giving an example of the Google Chrome, to identify your web element properties. So I'm clicking on this developer tools, and the moment I do that, you can see that the code, at least the HTML code, is present on your left widget, or sorry, right widget, wherein you will be able to get the element properties. Okay, now most of my viewers, they have been asking, okay, what I have been telling them is directly capture the XPath as a web element property, and I am correcting myself. Now there are different ways or different mechanisms that you can extract the web element properties. And like for example, if I hover on top of this, if I click on this particular section which is inspect element, what I can do is I can hover on top of this web elements. Okay, so this is jumbotron, which is a web element. Now if you hover on top of this, there is an input which is hamburger menu, which is a checkbox. Now you can click on it. Okay, and there is an input type which is a checkbox, which is the web element property, which is we are able to identify. Now apart from this, what you can do, once you have identified the web element, right, you can extract the web element properties of this. Okay, now one thing you can do is element locators in Selenium are by ID, by XPath, by CSS selector, by link text, by partial text link text, and by tag name. Okay, so by class, by name as well. Now you might be able to understand that we because we have different element locators, it is very evident that it is you are supposed to get the unique property of your web element. If you are not getting the unique property of your web element, what you might end up is choosing a wrong web element on the page. Okay, so it is important that you get the right web element which you are supposed to click, perform an operation on. Now, for example, when and most of my viewers or whoever I have been speaking to, they mention, okay, just choose by ID. Now, this is an example, a classic example where ID won't work for you. Okay, by ID won't work for you because if you hover on top of this, this is what you get, right? If you choose ID menu toggle, the whole section that is from here to here, it is getting highlighted. So it means that you cannot select ID, you will have to select an XPath in this case, or an input type. Okay, so if you can right click and then you go to copy, you will be getting some options over here, which is copy XPath, by copy full XPath, copy selector, which is CSS selector, of course, and you can identify this web elements. Now, having said that, what I will do is I will use XPath. Now, if I go and copy XPath and I come here and just paste it over here in my home page, you are able to see that I'm able to get the XPath. Okay, now there are in XPath, there are different variations of XPath. There is relative XPath, there is absolute XPath, and it is a very important question in the interview generally. When do you tend to get absolute XPath, and when do you tend to get relative XPath? Now, it is important to get relative XPath rather than your absolute XPath because it might be very static element properties. So we don't want our element properties to be static. We want properties to be dynamic because it might happen that your properties might change all the way. So that's the reason it is important that you select a XPath altogether. Okay. Now on the home page, what we will do is we will try to detect um, and capture the web elements like hamburger menu is one of them. Then we will select sign in portal as well as online products. Okay, because this is also part of our home page. Now let's do that and let's add these element properties. All right, so we have declared the hamburger menu XPath. Okay, and now we will declare the sign in path link XPath as such. So we'll add that. All right, so we have declared the sign in portal link, but what I'll do is I'll use the inspect element and then hover on top of sign in portal. Okay, so this seems to be a sign in portal link. So I'll just right click and then copy XPath and come back here and then paste my XPath over here. All right, now this is one mechanism to get our sign in link as such, but having said that, you can also look for another way to pull the element property. So what you can do is you can use by text as well. So I'll just copy this one, copy element, and I'll select as sign in portal as our text. All right, which is link test. All right, so once that is done, we will add methods. All right, so I pasted the methods like the operation that we will perform on our methods. Now click is a hamburger menu and then we will add. All right, so once that is fixed, you can see that buy is one of the, so we'll have to import this particular class, which is coming from Selenium library as such, and driver. Okay, now we will have to declare driver because what we need to do is we need to open up the driver as such and then we need to perform the operations on this. All right, now let's do one thing. Let's create some step definitions. Okay, we will create some steps. Now, when we had this introduction to BDD approach, we did talk about what are features and feature files as such. So, feature files will be in the given when then format. But having said that, it is important that these given when then statements are actually synced up with your step definitions. Okay. Now, if it is not synced up with your step definition, when you run the test, it will not run. Okay. So that is the meaning of it. Now let's do one thing. Let's hover on top of user navigates to login page and you can see that there is a create step definition, a kind of an intelligence that is being given by the IntelliJ itself. So let me click on it and let me show you what's really happening. Now it is giving an indication create new step definition file. Okay, so it is giving us an indication. Okay, you can create it under source main resources. Okay, so where it will exactly go is if you create your step definition, it will go under this particular folder, which is resources. Okay, which we can do it. It's not a problem, but having said that, it will be impacting our readability. Okay, so if someone is reading through our code, and if you happen to place your step definitions under resources folder, and that person cannot correlate kind of thing. Okay, so it is important that we have to maintain kind of readability as well. So you can place it in the resources folder, not a problem. But having said that, I have already created a package or a folder over here. It's better to map these step definitions so that it is easy to read as well for whoever is reading the code. Okay, so what I will do is I'll close this. Okay, and I'll create a step definition over here and I'll just right click and I'll select as new and then select as Java class, and over here I will add as home page. Okay, what we are going to do is we are going to create some methods over here related to home page. Okay, now for this relation, what we have to do is in order to map the feature files as well as the step definition, it is important that we map these through a glue mechanism. Okay, and this is very important because most of the viewers, they get confused, or it is important, or it becomes difficult them to correlate where exactly is your step definition and where exactly is your feature files. Okay, so it is important to understand that you are supposed to create a glue file under runner file. Okay, and that's what we will do this time. What we will do is we will create one Java file under runner file. So we will hover on top of runner and then right click and then select as new and then add a Java class, and over here we will add test runner and then press enter on our keyboard. Now we have added this test runner file. Now one thing which some of my viewers previously were mentioning, they were getting an error called as annotations are not allowed here. Okay, now what will happen is if you are using test runner file, okay, and if you are using test runner class, better to put your at the rate and annotation of Cucumber options outside of this class and not inside of this class. Okay, now what will happen is I'll tell you. Now if you create Cucumber options inside this class, it's not a problem, but it will import the file from the Cucumber JUnit, and after that if you hover on top of this you will get an error called as annotations are not allowed. Okay, all right, so until this now, you might have noticed that we have not used anything specific to driver. Okay, so this is the first time that we have used driver in our code and in our method as well. And this driver is related to our Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so Selenium WebDriver, what it will do is it will try to find the web element within our web application. So we have captured the element locator through XPath mechanism for the hamburger menu. And after we have found this XPath of this particular hamburger menu, that is through element locator, we have been trying to perform a click operation on that. Okay, so once we perform the click operation, we will be able to proceed with our test. But having said that, click is a mechanism through which we are trying to find this element first. Okay, and to find the element we require a driver, and the driver is given by Selenium WebDriver. Okay, now is the point where exactly are we using this driver and how we are using the driver. Okay, so you might have noticed when we are installing the dependencies of Chrome driver or WebDriver, you might have noticed that we have added a dependency over here which is WebDriver Manager. Okay, and apart from that we have added Selenium Java as well in our dependencies in this particular project. Okay, so until now we have not used it in our project, that is Selenium and WebDriver. We just added the dependencies, but now is the time to use that driver. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to launch the driver. Okay, as in launch the application itself. So for that what we'll be doing is we will add here as a WebDriver manager. When I type here as a WebDriver, you might have noticed that WebDriver is automatically coming, but WebDriver is not what we want. Specifically what we want is WebDriver manager. Okay, and then we type as dot and then Chrome driver, and after that we enter the method called as setup. Okay, now there is an error here, WebDriver manager. Now what it is showing is, all right, I need to check the spelling first. And when I'm pressing WebDriver Manager, you can see that it's picking up from the library of Bonnie Garkia. Okay, so this is what we want, and that's what we have added specifically in our pom.xml. Okay, so now this is important. That is, we have called the WebDriver Manager and we are setting up the Chrome driver.setup. And apart from that, we have to declare a driver. So driver equal to new Chrome driver, and then I'll just end the statement here. Now, apart from that, we have to declare driver. Okay, so before using it, we have to declare the driver. So what I will do is a public static web driver and then driver as such. So we are using a driver over here as a public static web driver. And what we will do is we will use this web driver down below in order to set up the Chrome driver, and then we will launch this application altogether. So what I'll do is I'll add here driver.get, and then in the double quotes we will have to pass the application under test, the URL itself. Okay, so I'll just paste it over here, the URL that we want to launch, and then I'll end the statement. So our error is gone. Okay, so driver specific error is gone. And please notice that we have not installed any Chrome driver specifically in this particular project. Okay, which is a good thing. Now this is how it will remain even if our Google Chrome get upgraded to 122 or 132 or 142 in the future. We don't have to worry that the Chrome driver also needs to get updated. Okay, because it will automatically get updated via this WebDriver Manager. So what we are doing here is, before we are clicking on the hamburger menu, we are performing the launching of our application. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. Now, if you have noticed, okay, so what we have done here is we have just entered a page object model concept, right? Now we have entered a couple of web elements over here, and then we are performing the operations on that, right? Now, what is missing here is the step definition, right? So step definition is something that, like, even if I try to run this, I cannot run this, right? Because our starting point is somewhere like user navigates to the login page, okay? And the user will be able to navigate to the login page once they launch the browser, as well as they are clicking on the hamburger menu and clicking on the sign in portal as such. Okay, so that is what we will do. We will try to create some step definitions, but hopefully you got an idea about this Chrome driver management. And if you notice, all our tests will try to call this particular Chrome driver setup, right? The Chrome driver itself. So we will try to move this, as in refactor our code. We will try to remove these three lines of code later on in our project. But for the starting purposes, at least we can proceed with keeping this at this method right now, and then we can proceed to at least launch the browser and then validate our test case as such. So let's do that in the next step. That's why we have to move this at the rate Cucumber options outside of test runner, and then paste it over here. Okay, so there won't be any annotations problems once we move this Cucumber options out of the test runner file. All right, now what we'll do is we'll open bracket, and in this we have to pass some parameters. Okay, so we will pass features as one of the parameters, and the double quotes, and then comma. After that, we have to pass glue path. Okay, so this is the glue path which I was mentioning about, and I'll pass some parameters over here as well, and this will be passed as a curly bracket parameters. Okay, and then I'll pass on some plugin as well, and plugin also I'll just pass it in the curly bracket parameters. Okay, now as you can see that we are passing three parameters over here. One is features, second is glue, and third is plugin. Now the features, we will have to pass on the exact path where our features are. Okay, so we will have to start with the source, and the source is over here, and then we have to pass it as a test, and then Java, and within Java there is features. Okay, so we'll pass that parameters details over here. So source, test, Java, and then features. Okay, so this is the path of the features, and then there is a glue, right? In the glue we will have to provide couple of parameters again, which is utility. So we will provide something in the utility, but having said that, we haven't added anything in utility, that's fine, but we will have to pass the details of step definition. Okay, so we will provide the details of step definition, and this step definition is where exactly we have provided these details. Okay, so I'll just correct this, in fact refactor and rename it to definition. Okay, so I'll just refactor, and our glue path is set. Okay, now apart from this, I'll provide a plugin. Okay, so the plugin that we will provide is pretty. So I'll just provide this as pretty as a parameter, and then I'll pass HTML, because what we will try to do is we will try to generate an HTML report as such. So I'll just pass HTML target Cucumber HTML report, and then comma JSON Cucumber.json. Okay, so this whole path we have provided. Now the reason I have provided this plugin as well is this is related to reporting. Okay, so a Cucumber HTML report will get generated. Don't worry, we will be looking at from Allure perspective as well, but this is a standard default Cucumber HTML report that it will generate. Okay, now we are not concentrating on the reporting yet, but we will touch base to reporting once we complete our whole test. As such, we have not built the test, but this is kind of a design to start with. Okay, now we have provided the features, we have provided the glue path. Now what we have to do is we have to come back to step definitions. Okay, and over here we have to provide the details in the home page. Okay, so the home page details that we will have to provide is the given statement. Okay, so if you go back into this, the first test that we have for the logged in feature, what I will do is I'll come to home page and I'll add an annotation over here at the rate given. Okay, now this at the rate given has been pulled from a particular library which is IO Cucumber Java and given. Okay, now it is important you make a note of this, which is the exact library from where it has been taken across. Now, apart from that, what we have to do is we have to pass the details of this whole given statement. Okay, we have to pass this as a parameter. Hover on top of this, you will be able to see an error. Annotations are not allowed here. Okay, so what it means is that this is not an annotation that you can really rely upon. So you have to make this as a method. Okay, so I'll make this as a method, public void user underscore navigates underscore to the login underscore page. All right, now what I did, if you notice, what I really did was I have used the exact statements. Okay, user underscore navigates, so user underscore navigates to the login page. So I've used exactly the statement that I've given for the given statement, and the moment I did that, you can see that there is a kind of a two number appearing over here. Okay, so if I hover on top of this, you can see used by two scenarios. So what we have done is we have first of all mapped our given statement to the feature step as such, and once we come to the feature step, you can see that the error is gone. Okay, so it means that our step definition has been defined. Okay, so it has mapped with our step definition over here. All right, now what we can do here is we can add the methods we were supposed to add it for the home page. Okay, so there were a couple of methods we added here, which is click hamburger menu as well as click sign in link. Okay, so let us get this added inside our step definition. So if you go back to step definition of home page and then you add this couple of lines over here. Now it's trying to understand where exactly is click underscore hamburger menu. Okay, so we will have to do import static. So what I will do is import static pages dot home page dot star and then ending it with semicolon. Now again there is some error. Now I will hover on top of this and add exception, choose this signature, and then this error is gone. All right, now our small test has been set up. Now what we will do is we will go to this test and we will not run the when and then. Okay, and there is a way to comment this out. So if I press hash over here at line number 6 and line number 7, you can see that this has been commented out. So what it means is our only given statement will run. Okay, now we are running the first test. Now the first test, what it will do is it will come to home page. Okay, and from home page step definition it will go to the pages. All right, and from pages it will go to this open up Chrome driver, and over Chrome driver it will open up the application, and from there it will click on the hamburger menu and then supposedly supposed to click on the sign in page. So let's see, let's head on to logged in page and logged in dot feature file and then click on run test, and then I'll just click on run scenario, and now WebDriver Manager is running, and we can see that we have faced this error. Okay, so what is the error is if you look closely, the error is step is undefined. You can implement this step using snippet, which is kind of a snippet given below at the rate given that this user navigates to the login page and the method as such. But surprisingly, we have already provided this in our method, isn't it? Like we have already defined the step definition. So where did we go wrong? So let's understand this, how to fix it. Okay. So when you encounter that error, first what we have to do is you can come to logged-in.feature file. Okay. And over here you can see that there is a strike through which has happened on the given statement. So what it means is like this particular test step has failed. Now what you can do is you can just hover on top of this given statement, okay, and you can click on clear result. So what it will do is there will be result present in the cache which will get cleared, okay, and if you make any changes then it will accept that, okay. So that's the reason you are clearing the result. And after that what you need to do is you can come here in the right hand section, okay. Over here you can see Maven, okay, just click on that. And once you come into the Maven, do one thing, come to plugins, and then you can see that there is a command of clean compiler deploy install jar resources sites surefire, and you can click on this you can come to install section, and then you can click on the executive Maven goal, okay. And once you click on that you can see that there are some commands that is coming, okay. So mvn test is coming, mvn clean is coming, mvn compile is coming. Most of the mvn commands are coming, okay, which are Maven commands. Now what we will do is we will do mvn clean, okay. So that's one of the command which is performs the mvn clean, and then you can see the build is success, okay. So it has done the build. Now I'll go here and then click on install and then go to this particular Maven, and then I'll click on Maven test. Okay, so what I did is I did Maven clean, and then I did Maven test as such. Now what it is doing is it's doing its own stuff, okay, like as in it did install the plugins as such or the Maven resources as such, and there is no error, there's a build success. So test run was 0 and failure was 0. Okay, so it did the clearance of that as well. Now let's do one thing. Now let's go to logged in.feature, okay, and then try to run this again. So the build is happening, and now I can see that the browser has opened up, okay. It has clicked on the hamburger menu and it has probably failed, okay. So let me close this and let me have a look at what is a failure. So at least one good thing is if we have gone beyond our failure, that is it was not able to identify the test step, but at least we know that our launching of the browser is happening, okay. And one good win over here is that the driver as well as the Chrome has matched, okay. So we have not installed driver, please mind, we are using the Chrome driver WebDriver, okay, and WebDriver Manager. And what we are doing is we are running the test, and then it has opened up the browser and it has performed the click operation on the hamburger menu, and then it has failed. So it has failed at the step of the string sign in portal is not valid XPath expression, okay. So what it means is we might have to go to the home page, and I'll just close this Maven window as such. And over here we had provided this by XPath, okay. So we might have to change this, and maybe this was my mistake. So I'll have to provide this as link text and then rerun again. So I'll go to login and then click here and then run. So once the browser opens up, um, and it has not clicked on, it has clicked on the hamburger menu, but it has not clicked on the sign in portal, okay. So it has failed with the same, at the same step, it's not a valid XPath expression, okay. So now I will just mention that you will have to clear this result, okay, and then perform a build, or probably go for a build rebuild. Now rebuild, what it does is it clears a cache from IDEA Intellij. So I'm just doing a rebuild, and after the rebuild is successful, I'll just rerun this. Browser has opened, it has clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, okay. So what I did is if you have closely noticed, what I have done is I had already fixed the link test. Okay, so I had changed it by XPath to link test in my step definition or in the pages. Okay, but I had not cleared the cache. So if I come here, if I do the clear results, and if I do the build and then rebuild, okay, even if I don't do build but I go for a rebuild, what it does is it clears the cache, and then your successful next run will be successful. Okay, so it kind of clears the cache, whatever results are present in your IntelliJ itself, or the IDE itself. It will clear that, and then you can try to run it, and then it will run. Okay, and you can see that one scenario, one test step has passed. Okay, so that is a good thing. At least one test step has passed. Now what we were supposed to get is user navigates to login page. So we were able to navigate to this login page, and that is our success. Okay, so that is at least a small win, but slowly, gradually, we will incrementally do all the validations. And one good thing is, by writing this particular test step, that is user navigates to login page, if you go to new registration dot feature, okay, it has the same step, which is user navigates to login page. So we are doing kind of a reusability over here. We are calling the same functions, that is click hamburger menu, click sign in link, and let's try that out. So I'll go to new user registration, and I'll just click here as a run, and then I'll just check whether at least my test is running from new registration or the second test as well. So browser has opened up, it has clicked on hamburger menu, and it has stopped at the this particular user clicks on registration button. Okay, so we had not set this or designed this yet, coded this yet, but we will do this subsequently. I wanted to just show the first part at least is working for the second test. Okay, now please note, when your browser will open up, okay, Google Chrome browser will open up through an automated software, just like Selenium or Playwright or Cucumber or Cypress, for example, it will give a navigation like this. Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. So it's kind of an indication that the Selenium has opened up this browser, not it has not been manually opened up as such. Okay, so that is a, it's kind of a indication to an automation tester. This is being controlled by the Selenium automation tool or any other automated test software as such. So at least our test step is working. Now let's design the first test case. Let's capture more XPaths or more test boxes as such. And then based on that, let's complete our first test in the uh, coming section. All right, now in this particular section, let's try to complete our first test. Okay, we had actually commented a couple of statements over here, which is when and then statement. So let's remove this comments so that we design this particular section about when and then as well. Okay, now given statement has been already designed. We have created the step definition for that. Now when statement is user successfully enters the login details. Okay, so let's do one thing inside the step definition. Let's add the login page as well. Okay, so what I will do is I'll just right click here as a home page and then paste it in the home page as a login page. Okay, so what we are doing here is segregation of step definition with the different pages altogether. Okay, now if I come here in the login page, now let me copy this into user successfully enters the login details and come here in the login page and then replace this given statement. Okay, and let me replace this with a when statement. Okay, so you can understand what I am implicating. So if I have converted this step definition and created a step definition specifically for when statement, right? And then you have to change the method name as well. So void user successfully. So I'll just change this to successfully enters the login details. So login underscore details. Okay, so I've changed this and you can see that there is one particular used by scenario. Okay, so if I go back in logged in, you can see that my step definition of user successfully enters the login details is captured. Okay, so my step definition is ready. Now what I have to do is I have to go into login page, and I have to create this page specifically for login page. Okay, now I'll just go to home page. Okay, I'll copy this particular statement or the code. I'll come back to login page and then keep on modifying this. We do not require and change this whole thing like on the login page. Okay, so if I look at my application, there is username and password. So what I'll do is I'll try to capture the element locators for this one. So I'll go to developer tools. All right, I'll do an inspection, then go to username, and then you can see that there is an ID over here. Okay, so in this case, this particular text or the user name text field itself has a ID now user. Okay, now if I go and check, this is a unique property. I will not be able to find any other element which is having this particular ID equal to user. Now how will I be able to check? What I can do is I can just go to this element section. Okay, so I'll just expand this so that is easily viewable. I'll just do control F here. Okay, so control F when I do ID. So when I do ID, you can see that there are some IDs over here. In fact, there are 12 combinations. Okay, so if I go here, I can see that there are IDs, and this is ID which we had captured as a hamburger menu. Now this if I click it again, you can see ID equal to menu, and after that I go here, there is an ID which is a title, which is a shoe portal title, and if I come down below, you can see that there is a ID equal to image as well. So image itself has an ID. Okay, and second form, and now we are in the ID equal to user. Now let me enter this particular element locator here. This is ID equal to user. Now I have entered over here as user USR, and then you can see that there are two USRs which is ID is unique. Okay, so there are only two USR, and that USR is coming as ID, and this whole text is coming as located over here. Okay, so that's a unique property. So let's go back and then let's design this for text fields. So I will just hover on top of this, which is ID user. Okay, and then I'll just right click and then copy and then go to, I'll come back here. I'll change this method. I'll just remove these methods. Okay, and then I'll make this as send keys. Okay, so I'll do send keys underscore username, send keys underscore password, and here I'll provide the driver dot find element, and I'll pass by ID, and here I will have to pass the ID of user. Okay, so I'll just pass here as user and then send keys, and I'll pass a detail over here as a username. Alright, so this is the password, this is the username that will pass, and then we'll copy this and paste it over here in case of password. And over here, if we go, what's the ID for the password? So if you go here, if you inspect and look over here, ID equal to PWD. Okay, just to make sure this is a unique property, I'll just search here as PWD, and then you can see that there is only one ID which is PWD. Okay, now I'll change this to PWD, and then I'll change this password. Please note you shouldn't hard code your passwords inside your code, something like this, but there are services, cloud services, which are specifically giving secret managers to store your passwords. Now, I would advise my viewers to kindly use some kind of secret managers, like Azure has a, AWS has a secret manager, and Azure has a key vault as such, and that can be used as a service within this one. But I'm just giving an example and just giving a disclaimer as well. You shouldn't store your passwords like this. Now I'm just using this for demonstration purpose, hence I'm using it. So even user can be replaced. Okay, so I'll just make this as username text ID, and I'll just replace this one with user, so that I can replace this one with username text ID. All right, so that my readability is pretty good, and I'll just change it by password. All right, so we have entered the username and password. Okay, and you might have noticed that this is a second page that we have coded already, and the step definition also has been entered over here. Now, step definition, even though method has been created, we will have to make sure that at least we are entering the username and password. Okay. Now, apart from that login page, you might have noticed that there is button here as well, which is login button. We have to click on it. So let me do that. All right. So I have entered the details about the login button as well on the login page. Now, on the login page step definition, let's enter the details about the entering. All right, so we are doing the send keys underscore username, send keys underscore password, and click underscore, but we will have to import static pages. Okay, so I'll just do an import and then import static as well as import static commands. Okay, so what will happen is we have imported the login details. Now, this will perform the operations on the login page. After the operations are performed on the login page, okay, we have to verify that it really enters into the login page or the product category pages are really visible. Okay, right, now let's try to run these two steps. Okay, let's say do an incremental fashion. So let's run these two steps. I'll just close this and click on run to understand if both of the steps are working or not. So our browser has opened up, it has clicked on the hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and then we encountered issue. Okay, now where did we encounter issue? User successfully enters in the login page. Okay, so it is not able to identify this particular statement. So let's clear the result. Let's do rebuild. Then let's go to Maven and then click on install. Then click here, run anything. Let's do ambient clean. Then press enter on the keyboard. So build was success. And let's click on run anything again and ambient test. So it's downloading and running the test as well. And let's run this particular feature test now. So browser has opened up, it's clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and again it has failed. Okay, now I will give a reason why it has failed. Now I'll just close this and you can see what we are getting here is a null pointer exception. All right, now why is this null pointer exception coming? This is coming because our driver has not reached to another state. Okay, so I'll explain it how. On the home page, we particularly if you see, right, we are declaring here a driver. Okay, and we are using this driver, and the driver is getting closed over here. Like the lifeline, the session of a driver is getting closed here until this home page. After that, we are going to the login page. Okay, and in login page again there is a web driver. Okay, now this particular web driver is different from that web driver, so that there is no connection or a session between the drivers as well. So that's the reason we will have to come up with another class which is storing the WebDriver across this whole different pages altogether. So for this, what I will do is I'll go to utilities, I'll right click and I'll create a class called browser driver. And this browser driver should store the driver related test altogether. So what I will do is I'll go to home page. I'll copy this WebDriver and move it over here. So this will be a WebDriver, and I'll remove the WebDriver from here. And what I will do is I'll extend this from browser driver utility. Okay. So once I do that, what it's doing is it's coming from this particular WebDriver. That is the declaration of the driver itself is coming from this driver, and you can see that there are 4 usages. Okay. Now I'll come here and then I'll remove this WebDriver as well, and I'll do extends from the browser driver. Alright, now I will do a build and then rebuild and then come to logged in feature and I'll clear the result and then I'll run this test So browser has opened. Just clicked on hamburger menu. Just clicked on sign in page, and then you can see that it has landed on the logged in page. Okay, logged in page as in you are able to see that the user has logged in and he is able to see formal shoes, sport shoes and sneakers. All right, now the test has failed, and the test is failed at the third step because we have not designed it yet. That's the reason it has failed, but we will design it and we will put assert values over here. Okay, so Selenium has assert values. Assert has different variations, as in you can compare the actual result as well as an expected result, so that you understand whether your test is really successful or not. So let's design the third step now. So if I hover on top of this, you can create a step definition, and please note that you will be able to get something like this. Okay, now it is IntelliJ has got an intelligence that your step definition folder is there, and you are already mapping your features along with the step definitions. Okay, and it has kind of indicated, do you want to create a new file? Okay, and do you want to create it under some particular features? Now you can add it under the same function if it is required. So it kind of gave an indication that if you really want it under home page or login page, based on that it will create the method. But if you want to create a new step definition, you, of a step definition Java file, then you will have to create it under his. Or else if it is under home or home page or login page that you want, you can get it added over there. But what I will do is I'll create one more page. Okay, so I'll just create one more page as well, which is logged in page. And in my step definition as well, I'll create one logged in page. Okay. All right. So once that is done, you can see that we have a step definition over here. We have pages over here. So let me capture the objects of the page. Okay. So if I come here, if I go to more tools and the developer tools, let me hover on top of this and look at the headings. So there is an ID which is shoe type equal to formal. And if I hover on top of this, then again this is a ID. This is not unique. So as you can see, this is ID shoe type. This is an ID equal to shoe type. So this is not unique. Okay, now we will have to find out some other unique property so that we understand, okay, fine, there is a formal shoes, there is a sports, and then there is a sneakers. At least the titles are present. All right, so for that what we will do is I'll just right click and then look for a XPath. Okay, and come back to IntelliJ, and I'll try to look at the XPath in the login page. I'll just paste it over just to have a view, and the XPath that it is giving is also ID equal to shoe type. Okay, star equal to ID equal to shoe type. But having said that, there are different variations of XPath as well. Okay, now XPaths itself is a very big topic to understand, but I will give kind of a quick understanding about XPath as well. XPath is something like a DOM element, right? Document object model element. It depends on how do you want to really capture. Now what I can see over here is once you press star, okay, forward slash star, then you will be able to get the whole page as such. Okay, and once you narrow down to ID and then equal to text equal to formal shoes. Okay, now forward slash equal to test. Okay, so I'll press star and then square bracket text equal to formal shoes. So what it will do, it will look for this particular section. Okay, and we will try to do get text on this, and then once we get the get text, we will put an assert value. All right, so based on that we will try to do the comparison. Let me create the methods first. So I'm adding the extents and browser driver so that we can use a browser driver as such, and then let me do asserts. Alright, so we have created three methods over here. We will verify the formal shoes text as well as sport shoes text as well as sneaker shoes text. Okay, now what we will try to do apart from that is we have to capture the elements. Okay, now I have already created public static string. Alright, now you might have noticed this particular error wherein the double quotes is coming because we are providing double quotes. That's the reason it is not accepting. So how we can handle this is doing a backward slash as well as backward slash over here, and which solves the problem. All right, now what we have done is we have captured the XPath of the formal shoes. I'll just copy and paste for the sport shoes. All right, so we have captured the element locators for formal shoes, sport shoes, and sneakers. Now we'll store it in the variables. And once we have stored it in the variables, what we'll be doing is we will get the text out of it. Okay. Now, because this is a string, we will have to do get text and then complete the statement. Okay. So we'll do for all three. All right. So we have completed this. Now we have to add the assert statement. Assert dot equals, and we will have to import the static method, which is JUnit. So I'll do that. And similar to asserts, we will add for the formal sport shoes as well as sneakers. So I will just add this one and do a comparison as well, whether it matches. All right, so we have designed our assert statements as well. We have captured all the test results. So I'll just, we have not created the step definition yet. So let me do that as well. From login page, I'll just quickly copy this and come to logged in page, and then I'll add the method as well. Alright, so we have declared it. Now we will add the methods of the pages as such. So we'll do an import. We'll add the interruption exception as it's asking for. Alright, our third test step is also configured. Alright, now I'll just change this one to then statement. And I'll come here. Product category page, then save it, come back to logged in feature, and then you can see all three test steps have been configured. Okay, now I'll just do a build and then rebuild. After that, I'll run the test. So browser has opened. It has clicked on the hamburger menu. It has clicked on sign in portal. It has entered all the details. All right, so we have encountered an error, and let's have a look at what the error is. So the error is no such element, unable to locate the element, that is method XPath and the selector. So what really has happened is we have got not been able to identify with through the XPath that we have selected. Okay, so we will do a slight change in the XPath. What we will do is we will remove this part where we are looking for the shoe type. because the web page is looking for, because the XPath can be looking for that this whole text that is formal shoes, that is good enough. So I'll just remove the shoe type from the XPath, and let's see. All right, so I have removed the shoe type as such, but we'll be looking for formal shoes, okay, and then we'll be verifying that with actual formal shoes or not, okay. So let's go for a rebuild and then check. To run this test, I'll go to logged in and then I'll clear the result. I'll just hover on top of that and clear the result, and then I'll click on run and let's see whether our test runs or not. All right, so browser has launched. It has clicked on hamburger menu, the sign in portal, and you can see that the three scenarios have passed. Okay, now three scenarios have passed. We have reached this particular page. All right, now we can add one more step, that kindly exit driver.exit, which will make sure that this browser get closed. But I wanted to show you the results as such, that it's coming over here and it's validating. Now if I change this little bit, okay, so as in if I change certain parameters, like for example, if I change this formal shoes to shoe, for example, then it would fail because it's trying to match with the exact text which it is trying to appear. Okay, so that is kind of a logged in feature. So if user should be able to view the product category page. So once he enters into product category page, he should be able to see formal shoes, not formal shoe as such. So it, what it means is kind of doing the validation, kind of regression test if the web page is correct or not. Now we can try to attempt that as well. What we can do is I'll go to this particular test step and then just make this a shoe, and then I'll go for a rebuild. So I'll just click rebuild. So the rebuild is happening, and after that we'll just run the test. I'll go back to logged in dot feature and then click on run button, and the test will run, and the browser has launched, and it has clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and then it has landed on this page, which is fine, like it has landed. But having said that, our one test has failed. Okay, one test has failed because expected was formal shoes with the S, and what we got was formal shoe. Okay, so expected, in fact, we had put as formal shoe, and actually formal shoes. Now, some of my viewers might be saying, okay, fine. In assert, right? The first parameter, in fact, should be your expected value. Okay, so this should be your expected, and this should be your actual. So I can kind of interchange as well, so that it's much more clearer. So I'll just interchange this one and put it over here, so that the expected is formal shoes. Now I'll just revert it back so my test passes, and that's what we are expecting as well. And I'll just move these arguments as a second argument rather than first argument, because the first argument is supposed to be expected. And same I will do with the sneakers as well. The tests are correct. All right, now we are good. We have achieved what we really wanted. Our first test has passed. Okay, all three test steps have passed. And what we will do right after this is we will try to design the second test case, so that we understand, okay, how to do a reusability as well. And some of the steps, like the first step, that is given user navigates to the login page, all that is already done, so we can kind of reuse it in our second test as such. All right, so let's do that. So for the second test, what we have to do is we have to come to new register, user registration, and you can see the given statement is already having a step definition. What is not in the step definition is user clicks on new registration button. Okay, so this is pretty easy. What we will do is we will go to login page, and over here you can see that we have already done some steps related to user successfully enters the login page. Okay, so for registration page, right, now if I open up this and if I go back to my home page and click on sign in portal, now this already has been captured. Where, so where did we capture this one? if we go to login page, for example, we have captured the login button XPath. Okay, so we have not captured the registration or new register here yet. So let's do that in the same web page of the login page. So we can kind of reuse this. So I'll enter the element over here, which is public static string. Alright, so over here we will try to get the XPath of this one. So I'll just right click, do an inspect element, and I'll just hover on top of this. And over here there is an ID which is new registration. Okay, so what do we have to do is we have to go to elements. Okay, and over here we have to check for the element whether it's a unique property or not. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do a control F, and over here I'll just type here as new registration, and let me have a look whether it's a unique. Okay, through the page. So yes, it is unique, so that is a good news. Alright, so I think I forgot to make this as capital R, so I'll just make this, and it's a unique thing. Alright, so that is what I will do. I'll probably select here not an XPath, but probably I'll use it ID over. So you can see that I can use combination of XPath as well as ID, whatever suits the best. That is what we will try to use. And I just copy this and come back, and I've already got my ID. Alright, so let me use it to click. So click new user or new register. Alright, I'll create a step definition here. So here the step definition will be what we were supposed to get for the new registration. So I'll just user clicks on new registration button. Alright, so we have entered this one. Okay, and we have reused couple of reuse the login page as well as login page step definition. Okay, so I'll go back to new registration dot feature, and I'll just go here, and then I'll just click on run button as such. So my second test will run. Browser is opened. It has clicked on hamburger menu. It has clicked on sign in portal, and it has failed. So let's have a look. So the statement has not matched exactly as per what is required. So what I will do is I'll just copy it and go back to step definition. And as you notice, what I had done is I have slightly modified the step definition. That is, it was not exactly matching with the when statement as such. So I'll just paste it over here so that it matches exactly. And I'll just go to build and then rebuild. And then I'll go back to new user registration. I'll clear the result so that the failure has gone, and then I'll click on the run again for the scenario, the second scenario as such. So it has opened the browser, it has clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and we got an error over here that is both username and password fields are required. So what has happened, it has clicked on login button. Okay, so if I go back and then have a look at my user clicks on registration button, if I go here, as you can see what it tried to do, we had not changed the login underscore button XPath. Okay, so we will have to change this. What I will have to do is I will have to change this as by ID, and here I'll have to pass the ID as such, and it needs to click. Now click on build rebuild. Alright, so after rebuild is done, you can go to new registration and then click on run. The browser has opened. It has clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and we are on the new user registration page. Okay, successfully. Now having said that, let's do one thing. Let's capture this particular text, okay, user registration page text, so that we have this validation that it is present. here on the third page. So let's third step. So let's do that and let this browser remain opened. And over here on the registration page, we are supposed to capture the page as such, page details or page elements as such. So I'll just capture this one. So I'll do extend browser driver so that I'll be able to get driver details from utility folder. And over here, I'll just capture this particular element. So I'll do an inspection. So I'll just right click. So this one is an edge. I'll just right click, copy, copy XPath. And you can see that we can capture the XPath as well, which is a center H1, which is kind of a unique property. As you can see, if I go back here and open up this one, elements as such, and do Control F, and this will probably remain the same. So I'll just modify this one, user registration XPath, and this should exactly match with this particular title, which is user registration page. So I'll just copy it, come here, and then paste it over here. Alright, so I'll just click on build and then do a rebuild. And after that, I'll just rerun. I'll go back to new user registration and I'll clear the results as well. And I have to create a step definition. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a step definition for registration page as such. So I'll go to login page. I'll just copy that login page and then paste it in the step definition. And I'll just click on OK. And I'll just modify this then statement as such so that it matches with our feature file. I'll do an import class. I'll copy the statement so that it's kind of matching. Alright, so once that is done, I'll go to registration page, copy this particular method, import static method. So I'll have to slightly modify this visibility. I'll have to modify this to user registration page. Alright, so my registration page is visible. And if I go to new registration dot feature file, as you can see, all three test steps are done. And I'll just click on build and then rebuild and then run the test of the second scenario. I'll just click here and then click on run. So browser has opened up, it has clicked on hamburger menu, it has clicked on sign in portal, and we are on this user registration page. Okay, so I'll just close this and you can see one scenario and three tests have passed. Okay, so our second test is also ready, which is good. Now you might have noticed one thing. We have created and designed and in fact run the first test case. We have created, designed and run the second test case. Now we have not done it for the general user view. Okay, so third test is not ready yet. But having said that, we can design that at least a couple of tests are run sequentially in the runner file. So here is where our runner file will come into picture. Okay. All right. So in previous section, we were just looking at we had created a couple of tests already, which is logged in dot feature as well as new user registration dot feature. All right. And previously we had created this test runner file as well, but we have not specifically used it. Okay. We had only added features over here and there was a glue that we added, which is utility as well as step definition. Okay, but extensively we did not use a test runner file. Now is the time because we have a couple of test cases which are up and running, which we have created, designed. That's the reason we are trying to run it sequentially. All right, so in order to run the test runner file, what we have to do is first we have to configure the test runner. Okay, now in order to configure the test runner, what we have to do is you can go on this particular section, which is run button. Okay, and after this you will be able to see something like edit configuration. So you can click on edit configurations And in this edit configuration we have not done much, okay, but you can see automatically we have got Cucumber Java over here as a runner file. But this is not the runner file that we are looking for. Okay, what we are looking for is a different Cucumber options particular run with file. So for that we will create this configuration. So what you have to do for this is you have to click on this add new configuration, and over here you will be able to see something like JUnit. Okay, now you can select the JUnit over here, and after that what you can do is you can try to add runner. Okay, now the moment you type runner, you'll be able to see IntelliSense over here that there is a runner, and after that there is a test runner. Okay, now you are getting this error which is class runner dot test runner is not a. Okay, so what it means is it is not able to identify this particular test class or test runner file as such. So what you can do is you can probably click on apply, okay, and then click on OK. So you can see that the configuration is saved, okay, but there is some error in the configuration. Okay, so it's being shown that there is a cross on top of that, so it means like as in it's not correctly configured yet. So let's correctly configure it. For this what we have to do additionally is we have to add one more annotation which is at the rate run with. Okay, now once we add run with, you can see that there is an import that has happened for at the rate run with, and it has come from JUnit runner run with library as such. And over here you will have to pass cucumber dot class. Okay, now the moment you add the cucumber dot class, you can see that even cucumber JUnit cucumber has been imported as a library. Okay, so these three, all three libraries are very important before you run the runner file. Okay, now once you have already done this, you can go back and then you can see that the cross mark is gone. So I can click on edit configuration, and even our error is gone. Okay, so that's how you configure the test runner file. And once you can probably rename this and you can just put it as test runner just for identification purpose. It will really not impact the code as such, but just for your identification. Okay, now click on apply and click on OK, and after that you can click on test runner file. Now the moment you run this, what will really happen is all the tests will run. Okay, now the first test has failed. Okay, you can see the general view has failed. Now the logged in user is happening, it has passed, and then it started the new registration view, and then it has passed that as well. Okay, now you get an indication over here down below that one test has failed and two have passed. Okay, now what it means is it has taken around 16 seconds of time for the three tests, and correctly as expected it has failed the third test because we have not designed it yet. That is a general view dot feature, and if we click on it, it will give an indication, okay, you have not written the steps, or step are not defined or undefined. Okay, which is kind of expected failure as such. And if you click on validate user, you will be able to see all three test steps have passed, and validate new user, all three test steps have passed. Okay, so the runner file has this time made sure that our tests have run sequentially. So you can imagine there are 25-30 tests which are present in our test suite. So we cannot every time run this individually. It is better to have a test runner file which runs all your tests together. All right. So our test runner file has been configured now. Let's try to complete our third test. All right, so now that we have completed our first test, which is logged in dot feature, and the second test, which is new user registration dot feature, now we will configure and design our third test, which is general user view dot feature. Okay, so similar to what we really did for test case number one and test case number two, we will do it for test case number three as well. We will try to inspect the element from our web application and add it in our pages and in the step definition as well. So for pages, we have already created a class which is online products page, and what I'll do is I'll create one for step definition as well. So I'll just copy from registration and put it in the step definition, as online products. And what I will do is I'll start configuring this. All right, so we will keep this empty. And what we have done is we have completed our then statement. Okay, so we have at least declared the then statement. And for the when statement, we will create in online products itself. All right, so we have declared even the when statement for our third test, which is good. So I'll just do an import class. All right, so if I go to general view, our second step is also defined. Now user navigates to the online products page. Okay, now this online products page, if you see, if we go to the home page, right, we are clicking on sign in portal, sorry, sign in link. Now similar to that, we can use the given statement over here. Similar to that, we can create a given statement in home page. Okay, so I'll just copy this and paste it over here, and then user navigates to online products page. So I'll just copy this, come back in my step definition file and change this to online products page. I'm doing this because my online products link is on the home page. Okay, so I have to navigate to online products page. So I'll just change it to click sign in portal link, right? Now if I go to home page, I'll have to define this one and create under link test. So I'll just make this as online products page, and I'll go here and click, come back to the first page, which is the online products. I'll just right click and do on inspect element. So online products is my link test. Similar to this, I'll create another method which is click on online products link. All right, so that is done. I'll come here to home page and change this to click underscore online products page, products underscore link. All right, so we have declared and used our given statement. Now what is pending is couple of statements for when and then. So this is going to be tricky, and where I want my viewers to concentrate is the third test, right? Now it's a web table that we are trying to automate, and once you click on the online products, you happen to be on this page. Okay, now this page is a little bit tricky because you have three drop downs, and what you need to do as a user or an automation script is you need to click on this drop down. Okay, so if I go and inspect this element, you can see that there are elements related to class. So I'll just try to open this particular dev tools so that is visible. And if I hover on top of the second drop down, you'll be able to see that there is a class difference. Okay, so there is a sports shoe drop down, and this is a class name which is different from this particular class name which we wanted to have it for the formal shoes drop down. Okay, so class is different, class is unique. So what we'll do here in this case is we will use the element locator by class. Okay, and after using the element locator by class, we will try to perform a click operation on that. That is one thing. And once I click here and go for an inspect element, all right, and I come here and then click on the shoe name. Now if I hover on top of this table class, okay, so this is a web table. Okay, and web table is a unique web element wherein the whole table can be taken as a table element, and you can see that there is a class name over here which is formal shoe table, okay, which is unique. Now this formal shoes table is going to be our identifier of our table. Okay, and from the table, once we capture the table, what we will try to do is we will try to find the row number 2. Okay, now why I'm saying the row number 2 is classic Cheltenham happens to be our expected value. Okay, now classic Cheltenham, if you see, it is on the second row of this table. That is how you see it. Otherwise, there is one more angle that you see. Okay, now if I hover on top of this, this is a th board, t head. okay, and below there is a T body. Okay, now T body is something down below. So if I hover on top of this T body, you can see that it's skipping the T head. Okay, and we are able to capture the whole body itself. Now this is an important parameter, and I'll explain you when we are coding as well. First we have to take the web table as a unique property, and from there we will take as a T body, and from T body we will try to take the first row of the T body, and within the first row if I hover on top of this we get TD. Okay, that is the first row and the first column. Now first row and the first column is what we are interested in, which is classic Cheltenham. Okay, and that classic Cheltenham is what we are trying to extract first, and then try to validate with an expected value as classic Cheltenham. Okay, now this is how we have to design our automation scripts to pick up a particular value from the web table and do a comparison. Okay, so let's start to do that. Let's come to our code, and user clicks on the formal shoe drop down. So that is the first statement that we are trying to automate. And for this, we have created a step definition, but we are yet to create the web element. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is I'll go to online products, and online products, we have not defined it yet. So what I'll do is I'll come to login page. I'll just copy one particular element and paste it in online products, and I will modify this. So if I come back, and what we are trying to look at the element is this particular element, which is formal shoes. Now here, as I mentioned, we will try to take by class as our web element locator. Okay, so let me do that, and I'll create a method over here. All right, so I have defined a method over here, and this time around what we will do is we will use our by class. So driver dot find element by dot, and if I see there are different element locators over here: id, xpath, link test, css selector, and class name is what we are looking for. All right, and I will pass the parameter of formal shoes drop down class, and then we are going to perform a click operation on this. All right, so we have designed this, and our couple of statements, which is the first statement and the second statement, given and when, are already done, designed. So let's run this test for a couple of couple of steps, and let's see whether that passes. The browser is launched, hamburger menu is clicked, online products link has been clicked, and we have landed on this particular page of online products. Okay, and you might have noticed that the formal shoes web table has opened up. Okay, so we like through the automation scripts we have clicked on the drop down, and then this whole web page is opened up, which is good. So our both of the tests, as in two-step test steps, looks good. The third test step needs to be coded as such. All right, we do not have anything on the third test step, so let's code that for the web table perspective. So if I go to online product, so what we have done is only the formal shoes drop down class, but here is where we will inspect the element of the web table. So I'll just go here and click on this particular web table. So I'll try to extract this particular web table and then combine it with the T body. Now for this, what we'll do is we'll right click on this table. I'll just copy and go to copy XPath. So I'm copying the XPath of this particular table as such. I'll come back and then put over here as public static string, and then web table, formal shoes web table. And this is the table web element that we have captured. Okay, so the XPath of the web table has been captured and put it in this particular string. Now, apart from that, what we can do is we can go and capture this particular T row. So I'll just go and copy this particular XPath, store it in another variable, public static string formal shoes web table underscore tr equal to, in double quotes, we'll pass this. Okay. Now, if you have noticed, we have captured the whole first row over here. Okay, within the T body, you can see that there is another row, the first row, and this is an index showing as this is the first row. Okay, now what our expected results say that this is the first row and the first column. Okay, so every time we have to validate that the first row and the first column is what we want to validate from a perspective of what's the actual value which is coming from it. Okay, now this test is only capturing the static value of the first row and the first column, but generally what happens is you tend to get the expected values, or your web table might testing validation might be a dynamic factor. So if it's a dynamic factor, make sure you do not define the index, okay, because it will capture the whole index as such, the whole values as such. Okay, all the rows can be captured at one particular shot. So this is because we have the first row and the first column as column. That's the reason I am putting it into this particular category, which is TR and TD as such. All right, now what I'll do is I'll get the get text of this. So I'll just perform here as public static void get text formal shoes first value, and then driver dot find element by XPath. So we'll provide the XPath expression here, and then formal shoes, web table R, and then get text. Okay. Now here we have provided the get text. I'll come back to step definition. So I'll just come here and then I'll just provide here as get text first value. And after that, we are supposed to do assert equals. Okay. So I'll put assert equals expected, which is classic Chaltanam. I'll have to be very specific of this particular spelling of classic Chaltanam. Then we'll provide the details of get text first formal shoes. Okay. All right. So we are done. We'll do a build and then rebuild, then run test general view. Just come here and then run. So our browser has opened. It has clicked on hamburger menu. It has clicked on online portals, and it looks like our test has failed. Okay, let's have a look why the test step has failed. All right, so you can see that there was a comparison. The expected was classic Cheltenham, but what we are getting is a couple of spaces over here and then classic Cheltenham. Now if I hover on top of this particular value, okay, so if I go here and then look on the inspecting of this particular classic Cheltenham, so there were two spaces over here, okay, and then there was classic Cheltenham. So what we'll do is in the expected, we just modify this one and add a couple of spaces and then do build, rebuild, and then run the test again. So browser has opened up. Just click on hamburger menu, online products. All right, so the browser has opened up and it has clicked on the hamburger menu. It has clicked on online portal. It has clicked on formal shoes drop down, and hopefully it's tried to validate, and you can see that the three test steps have passed. Okay, so all three test steps have passed, which is good. So this is what we wanted, and we have completed all three test cases, as in logged in plus new user registration plus general user view. All right, now what we will try to do is we will try to run it in the test runner file. Okay, so we will choose test runner and we will go here and click on test runner, and we had already configured the test runner. Okay, so there is no change as such that will happen in the test runner. And what is supposed to happen is all three test cases have to be run automatically in sequential fashion. So I'll just click on the run button of test runner, and you can see the general view test has started. Out of the three tests, the first test which has started is general view, then is logged in view. Okay, logged in view user, so new browser has started, and then it has completed, and the third test has started, which is new user registration view, and it has completed as well. So all three test cases have taken total of around 21 seconds. Okay, so 21 seconds and 182 milliseconds is the time it has taken for all three tests to run. And as you can see that it does not depend on what test that you have scripted first. Okay, so how we did is we had scripted logged in user first, and then we scripted the new user registration, and then we scripted the general view. Now you can see that it's alphabetically ordered. Okay, and based on which these three tests have run automatically. So that's how this whole test runner file runs as well, and it helps you to run all the test cases which have been automated in a very sequential fashion. And you can imagine there would be like 50, 60 test cases, 25, 30 test cases, which are huge numbers, and those cannot be run individually. It is better to run as a test runner file as such. All right, so we have done this regarding reporting. Okay, so if you click on the target files, and you can see by default there is a Cucumber HTML report which gets generated. Now what I will do is I'll right click and then open in, and you can see that there is a HTML report which gets generated. Okay, so now what you can do is you can right click and then you can go to open in, and you should be able to find Google Chrome. Now what I can do is just to show, okay, I'll just control C and then I'll go to HTML viewer and then paste this particular HTML viewer, and this is how the output will look in the Cucumber HTML reporter as such. Now there are three scenarios which we have run, okay, and it gives you an idea about how many scenarios are there. So if you click on this general viewer, okay, and this is logged in view, which is the second test, and the third test is a new user registration. So our report is also getting generated, and you can use some kind of filtration as well, like if you just type as general and then click on search, you'll be able to filter it. Now if I search as logged in and click on search, then you'll be able to get the logged in test as such. You will be able to see how much time it has really taken, and what are the implementation, what's the runtime, what's the OS, and what is the CPU. Okay, so all this are kind of relevant and irrelevant details will come out, but definitely duration is something which is irrelevant, as well as the scenarios and the scenario details, whether the test is green or red. Those kind of details also is kind of helpful. Now in the next section, which is important as well, we will try to configure Allure reporting, and based on that we will try to use Allure reporting, how the report really looks from a Allure perspective. Now it's kind of a beautiful report comparatively, and for which we will add it in the pom.xml and then try to configure that. So let's do that. Alright, so in this section, we'll be looking at how to generate Allure reporting, and we are going to integrate it with the Cucumber BDD test framework. Now, what I have decided to do is I have tried to depict these as stepwise approach. Okay, and it is very important because if we miss any of the steps, it might not work. Okay, so Allure has undergone a lot of changes, and the one which I'm showing currently is the latest one with in relation to the BDD test framework as well. And I'll give the documentation of Allure specifically configuration that has to be done. So if you look at this particular link of Allure, okay, so this is Allure documentation, official documentation, and this is Cucumber JVM specific documentation. So if you look from this perspective, there are a good number of configurations that you have to really do. I will go through all the steps sequentially, okay, and so that you will not have any issues as such, but I'm giving the reference document link here as well. If you get to stuck somewhere, kindly go through this documentation, but I will give the stepwise approach as well. So I'll just minimize this and I'll come back to the steps that I have defined already. Alright, so the step number one is you will have to check the version of Cucumber that you have in your framework. Okay, so the version of Cucumber that I have in my framework is Cucumber 6. Okay, this is very important to understand because this is how you will have to configure the dependency of the Allure in your pom.xml. Okay, so step number one is to determine what version of Cucumber you have in your framework, which is important. Step number 2 is you need to add the plugin of Allure support in IntelliJ. Okay, this also I will show how we have to do this. Step number 3 is very important. Make changes to your pom.xml. So you will have a Maven pom.xml in your project as such, and you will have to make changes in that pom.xml. The first thing in that is you will have to add a dependency of Allure Cucumber 6-JVM. Okay, now this is important because I am specifically using Cucumber 6 in my framework. That's the reason I am telling that you will have to configure the dependency of Allure-Cucumber 6-JVM. Now, if you have Cucumber 7, which is the latest one currently in the market, go for Allure Cucumber 7-JVM under dependency stack. So in pom.xml, there should be dependency stack. You should add this particular dependency uh, related to Cucumber 6 JVM. Second point related to pom.xml is you need to add a dependency of allure-junit-platform under dependency stack. Okay, so this is another dependency that you have to add. You need to add dependency management tag for Allure version. So I'll touch base on that as well, what you have to specifically add. And the fourth point is that you need to add the build tag for the aspect J Weaver. Okay, so aspect J Weaver is a mechanism that through the build process you will be able to create some dependencies, which is important as well. I'll show you that aspect. Step number 4 is add properties file. So in your project, you have to add allure.properties, the location exactly where you want your results to get stored. Okay. And junit hyphen platform.properties, the Cucumber plugin details. So this also I'll show you how it has to be done. Step number 5 is make changes to the test runner file for the plugin details. This is important because your test runner file has to call this particular plugin. Okay. And you have to install Allure command line through npm. Okay, so I will show that aspect as well. So these are the 6 steps that you have to perform in order to generate the Allure report into your project. Now let's see practically how you really can do that. So this is my Cucumber. That is the BDD framework that we have been looking perspective. Okay, the first step that we had to perform is you have to understand what Cucumber test that you have. Okay, Cucumber version do you have you used in your project as such. So I'll go to pom.xml, and just to refresh our memory, what we Cucumber version we have used is Cucumber 6.1. How would you be able to understand is if you go to dependencies, you might have already used Cucumber in your framework as such. So we have used 6 version. Okay, so it is evident that we use Cucumber 6. Okay, we have understood, okay, the 6th version is the Cucumber framework. Now the second step that we had looked is you need to add the plugin of Allure support in IntelliJ. Okay, so how do you do that is you go to files, and in the settings, once the settings modal opens up, you can go to plugins, and in the plugins you can search here as Allure, and you will be getting as Allure test ops support. Okay, so this one I have already installed in IntelliJ, and if you have not installed yet, kindly go ahead and install in your IntelliJ. Okay, so that was our step number 2. Step number 3 is you have to make changes to your POM XML. Okay, so first thing that we have to do is you have to add the dependency. Okay, so I'll just open this up, and I'll show the pom.xml, and I'll show that under the dependency. So I'll go to the dependencies. Okay, so I have added here as Allure Cucumber J6 Allure hyphen Cucumber 6 hyphen JVM. Okay, so this is one aspect that I have added. I have to add Allure JUnit platform as well. So what I've added here is Allure hyphen JUnit 4. Okay, which is important. You need to provide this details as well, and this comes from your library, which is io.commeta.allure. Okay, so make sure you are getting this particular commeta.allure, and all this has been provided in this documentation from where you have to exactly take this library. You have to add the dependency management. I have scroll up, you'll be able to see that I have added Cucumber. I have added here as a dependency management. Okay, there are a couple of dependencies over here as you can see. that there are dependencies related to Allure BOM as well as JUnit BOM. Okay, this contains the dependency management. Apart from that, you have to add the build tag. Now inside this build tag, you can see that there is a Maven Surefire plugin, and there is an argument line that we are passing as a committer. Plugin we are calling over here, and apart from that, I am providing the aspect JWeaver. Okay, so this is important as well, that I have added inside the build tag. So once you have added this in your pom.xml, what you can do is you can go for add properties. Okay, so once I open up here under source, under test, there are a couple of properties I have added, that is allure.property. Now the allure.property, I have provided the details of allure.results.directory. So what it will do is it will create Allure results as such and JUnit platform.properties. Okay, here I have provided the details of the cucumber.plugin details. Alright, now once that is done, you have to make changes in your test runner file. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll open up the test runner file under Java folder, and under test runner file, I have modified this particular line, which is line number 12, little bit. Now you can see that I have added io.committer.allure.cucumber6jvm.allure cucumber6jvm. Okay, so I am providing the details of the plugin. So test runner file should ideally call this plugin. Once this is done, what you can do is you need to install Allure command line through npm. Now how do you do that? Is I have shown here specifically. If I go up, if you haven't really installed Allure command line yet, what you can do is you can run npm install hyphen allure hyphen command line hyphen save hyphen dev. Now once you do that, you can see that there will be an update happening. You can see one package is changed. What it means is it already was present, that is the Allure command line, but having said that, it has got updated now. Now just provide these details in your command prompt, or you can come to the terminal of Intellij and you can just run this particular command. Alright, so once these configurations are done, what you can do is, because I have already created the Allure report and Allure result, I'll just delete these folders so that it's fresh. All right, now I have deleted it, and as we have three tests under our feature, as you can see, there is a dot general view user view dot feature, logged in dot feature, new user registration dot feature. All right, now I'll come to test runner file. I'll just play or run, and our test will run. All right, so the first test has already started. As you can see, it's a general view. All right, so second test has started, which is related to logged in user, and third test has started, which is related to new user registration. All right, three tests have ran and three tests have passed, and as a result, as you can see that there is a new folder which has got created called allure-results. Okay, now this will store all the details which has really ran. What you can do is you can come to terminal and then you can run a command which is allure generate allure hyphen results hyphen clean hyphen o allure hyphen report. Okay, now these the first results or allure results have been stored in .json file. Some are in attachment.html, container.json, which is not readable as such. But this particular command, which is allure generate allure hyphen results hyphen clean o allure hyphen report, once we enter this, a report will get generated. Now you can see a new report has got generated, and over here there is an index.html. Okay, so now you can right click, move to open in, and then browser, and click on Chrome. And once you open this up, you can see when exactly this has been run, at which date, how much time it has really taken. So it has taken around 23 seconds, which is duration. You can click on general view, logged in view, as well as new user registration. Okay, so once you click on here particular step, you will be able to see that there are three test steps, and exactly how much time it has really taken. Okay, so in logged in user as well as new user. So this is how a beautiful report gets generated. It gives a kind of a pie chart as well. It gives line by line aspects. It gives a graphical view as well, and you'll be able to see how much time it really takes. And you can see the categories. There are no categories as such. You can see the suites, the timelines, how much time it has really taken. And for the sake of looking at the report, what I will purposefully do is I'll purposefully fail a test. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to a test features. Now I'll go to this one and I'll modify a test. Okay, I'm just failing a test just to see how it really appears in the report. So I'll just run this again. All right, so the first test is running and it has failed, which we wanted it to fail. Second test has run, it has passed, and third test has run and it has passed as well. So two tests have passed, one test has failed out of three. Now what I will do is I'll go to terminal command and run the report again. In fact, generate the report. And if I go to index.html, I'll go in the browser and open up the report as such. All right. Now you can see out of three, two have passed and one has failed. Okay. So it is very important to understand from a perspective how the graph looks like. Most of the times the test might fail as well, but it is important how it really looks from a report perspective. So I'll just go back and revert it so that the test passes as well, but hope you understand how to configure the Allure report in our BDD framework, as the report helps us to determine how much from the duration perspective, date perspective, as well as test perspective. And the whole project has been already pushed into a GitHub public repository, which I'll be sharing in my description as well. Kindly like, share, and subscribe our channel for more details like this. Happy coding and happy automation testing.